Hello, Rachel.
I guess, how are you?
You guessed correctly. I am doing fantastic. Rachel, how are you doing?
I don't want to talk about it. Talking doesn't help.
Why doesn't it help, Rachel?
Because repression works better for me.
No, Rachel, I say no to that, and we're going to talk about an episode of a science fiction TV series, and the way we're going to go about that is we've been locked in this room. The device is in the center of the table here.
Well, no, the recording equipment's to my left.
Yeah. Well, it's in the center of things. And we're going to put our thumbs, on the little Jenga blocks, and each time we talk about elements of the episode, we can move a Jenga block, and the closer we are to being free, and who knows, maybe, Rachel, you'll open up and learn that repressing your emotions and hiding your true self isn't a great way.
Well, we'll see, won't we? We'll see.
Okay, Rachel?
We'll see. We are Podcast. We're going through episode by episode Killjoys, which Ryan, my husband there, has seen, and I have not.
This is your first time through, and that is great because it's been 10 years since this series initially aired, since this episode initially came out. And so it's good to go back and see what was happening back in 2015. And people, if you have not seen Killjoys before, or if you have, welcome. We would love to be a companion for your journey into watching or reminiscing about the series itself.
But before we continue, you demand. The routine demands. The structure notes demand. You explain why we're called Yum Yum.
It is that way because we are huge lovers of science fiction television, which means we have watched episodes of Star Trek. And in the television series Star Trek Discovery, the line Yum Yum was uttered by a character in response from another asking if they can join in murdering the antagonist. And it was such a hilarious line. It was so out of place and yet felt of a piece that you and I ridiculed it, mocked it, but also cherished and held it in our hearts. And so we called ourselves Yum Yum to never forget that moment, to always remind everyone of what a scene that was, what a moment that was. Great writing. And Killjoys is a series that should have said it. You've watched enough now, Rachel. You're here. We're 8 episodes into the show. I think you can weigh in on, did Discovery beat Killjoys to the punch? Killjoys was out before Discovery, but they haven't said Yum Yum in Killjoys.
Not yet. Anyway, it would feel right. It would feel right. And we will get to our perspective on how this particular episode of Killjoys brings Yum Yum into the fold. But before we do that, we've got to describe the episode. We've got to give a summary.
We are up to...
Traditionally, we get those from IMDb. Or if we are so lucky, the DVDs. The physical media themselves.
We have this on physical media, and there are no descriptions. There are no...
No. And you decided, IMDb, not good enough. Not good enough. We're going to write them. We're going to write them this time.
Mm-hmm. And it is up to me now.
It's your turn this episode to summarize Come the Rain.
Episode 8 of Season 1. There's a deadly rainstorm that takes place in this episode and separates our characters. Davin and Dutch bond and dance. Don't forget, they do dance. Meanwhile, Johnny, Potter, and Pree must navigate a very tricky situation at the Royal. And Rachel, This particular episode was directed by someone we've seen before, Peter Stebbings. Although this is his first outing in Killjoys, he is a face that's familiar for us and for many people. He is a director, but also an actor. Someone who's done a bunch of work over the years, both in front of and behind the camera, and this will be his first of a few outings in Killjoys. Notably, he will go on to direct the premiere and the follow-up of the last season of Killjoys. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing how he grows over the course of the show. But he's directed the usual stuff, as you mentioned, the usual crime procedurals. He has done Winona Earp, a lot of these Canadian productions. But in terms of his acting, he's been all over the board. He's done Relic Hunter. He's done Stargate. He has been a major character in Jeremiah, which was the failed television series helmed by our good friend J. Michael Straczynski from Babylon 5.
I had forgotten about that one.
I love this. One of his early roles was in The X-Files. And I saw his character name, it's just like a generic name, but it said in parentheses, male. And I knew, as an X-Files fan, that must be the gender bender episode of season 1. That must have been the one where the monster of the week was someone who could swap genders, and boy, was I right. But the writer of this episode is someone returning and, in my eyes, redeemed. This was written by Jeremy Boxen, who did the Sugar Point Run, which is still my least favorite episode we've watched of the series. But what did you think? We've already talked about his career in the past, but what did you think of his script this time round?
I think it was better than Sugar Point Run, but it's had that but similar sort of clunkiness to it at points where it's just like, and now, and oh, you're doing this thing for this thing's purpose, and we're up to this beat. Like that predictability and familiarity that made me kind of bored in Sugar Point Run was here again.
This felt way more in line with what the series identity has started to forge itself into.
Yeah. Which is a good sign for this episode, since we had the big shake-up last episode to sort of move us into that stage of things.
We need to check in on two major factors of this show. One being the bitch count. Each episode loves to throw in a bitch or bitches, and this had 3 instances of bitch drop. We had the weather being hot. It's oh man, it's hot today, son of a bitch. And then the bitches drop later from Pre, where they're at the bar and there's a hold up happening and he's Mr. Bitches, and I loved hearing it. That was also my laugh moment of the episode. I'm just going to pair it together. But Rachel, you have a count of your own, which the show really front loaded, and how's it doing now?
It's not offering a lot at the moment. I keep on being hopeful, and then they're gut shots, not nut shots.
And I know that was always your yum laugh moment of an episode, was when specifically a man would get kicked in the genitals. But what is your consolation for this one, considering there was no nut shot? What made you laugh?
The hard cut to Dutch having sex made me laugh in a way.
She's dealing with this in her own way. Hard cut to her joylessly having sex.
She's just like it's hard because it's just a visual of her, but it's just like she's staring into nothingness and riding this dude.
Not supposed to be funny.
Not supposed to be funny, but I found it funny.
Supposed to be upsetting.
Yes. It made me uncomfortable, and that's why it was a laugh. It wasn't a ha-ha laugh. It was a, oh. So I wanted to mention that. And like I feel like there were other things that made me laugh more, but I'm gonna give it to the vigorous handshake line.
I stole John's copy when we were kids. It's his favorite issue. I traded it with Shalma Linwood for a vigorous handshake. John never forgave me.
This is a very good episode. I liked it a lot. It's not my favorite. I think this is a bit lesser than the last couple we've had, but I also praise and admire it for its simplicity and that it just leaned into getting the characters to bond, to open up, and to reveal themselves to one another in ways that were either manufactured through the needs of the people involved or just through nature itself. I really like that.
Yeah, that was good, and that worked well for me too. One thing that I really liked about this episode was how it sort of returns to characters that we haven't seen in a little bit and grounds it again in the world. And we'll get into the ways that it does that in more detail. But I think that that's a big praise that I have for this episode is how it does that. But the great thing that this episode does is being a solid follow-up to the last episode. It's very different, but it doesn't feel like a letdown.
It's a breather. Usually you would take that they would keep ramping up, but one of the big dramatic conceits of the last episode was the breakdown of the trio. Johnny got stabbed. He nearly died. Dutch got assaulted, also nearly died. She also nearly killed Davin. This is a huge thing, and I appreciate and so admire that the writing didn't focus on thinking that the drama that needed to be explored and ramped up was the overarching lore and narrative. We've got to go after Klein. We've got to go...
Notch it up, kick it up a notch, kick it up a notch.
But no, they take a step back and have the characters really linger, really just soak in the fact that they are not okay with each other and with themselves. And it's a bold move because it does slow the pacing down.
And it makes it so much more interesting because, like, yes, there is a plot and it's connected to the broader world of it, but the unraveling of our trio is continuing. Because we had the breakdown of Davin and Dutch's relationship, but this episode kicks out the other part of the trio, like this other link of Davin and Johnny. So they're fully severed, except it's like as a trio, it's back to being the duo that we started with. And that was somewhat like promised in the last episode. Like we got the feeling that before that Johnny would choose Dutch, but that was said in text in the episode.
But we also saw last episode that it didn't come true. That Johnny, when seeing Dutch after being beaten by Davin, he still went to see Davin thinking, no, that can't be. He still was willing to choose Davin and Dutch at the same time. And it's over the course of this episode that Johnny goes through so much that by the end of it, he says, I'm not choosing Davin. I'm choosing Dutch. It's a whole episode worth of, and it's something in the background of this episode as well. Like when it comes by at the end, it's a bit shocking as well, but it also doesn't feel like it's out of nowhere
No.
or unearned.
Because what it feels like to me is like Johnny has this whole thing about he gets called out for being the person that fixes everything. And he goes, I don't want to fix everything for everybody anymore. But I think a part of Johnny's breakdown and his rejection of Davin is realizing that Davin has never chosen Johnny. He's always chosen to protect his brother, to defend his brother, to do the right thing for all of these other people in his life that have never done what's right for Johnny when they're in the same situation, right? Like his brother exchanging a comic book for a hand job, or leaving to join the army so that he could be a hero, and leaving Johnny to deal with their shitty family situation.
And making sure he has no future.
Yeah.
In the process
It's
as
like
well.
The text is that Johnny is frustrated that it's what you cost me, but it's also what have you given me?
And then we have the brilliance of, in the other part of the episode, we know that Davin believed at some point in his life, and still there's this lingering within him, that he's doing all of this because he wants to be a hero. He wants to do the right thing. He doesn't want to hurt people. He doesn't want to be someone who uses and abuses and throws people away. He wants to be the opposite of what his family situation was. But to get to that point, he did all of those things. And he still does those things because it is a part of who he is, and rejecting it wholeheartedly isn't going to make it miraculously go away, as has been a large part of his character trait and journey and flaws this season, is how he is not running away from his past, he's running directly to it, and this is a part of it. And Johnny is standing there by the end of this episode and says, you haven't done good enough. You've run to all of these other things, but not to me.
Which was a frustration that Johnny had earlier in the season. He's just like, oh yeah, like shit's fucked, but you didn't talk to me. You went to Dutch found out, and now I've found out. You didn't tell me, and I'm pissed that you didn't tell me.
Johnny's been such a bright, energetic, hopeful character in the show. He's had his moments of being broody. He's had his moments of drama, of course, and they're all well played. But this is the episode where we see him reach his breaking point. He's given this plot, and we can talk about that. But in terms of just his character and the way that he has evolved over the course of the season and this episode, how do you feel about Johnny? And how do you feel about his reaction by the end of all this?
I'm so glad that he's getting something to actively do. Because we've talked, it feels like, quite a bit about how Johnny has been the more stable one, and his plots have been reacting to what's happening with Dutch or Davin. It's been more about him reacting to things that are happening to our other characters, be it Dutch or Davin. And now it feels like, oh no, he is being more active instead of reactive and going, no, okay, I'm done. This is me now stepping out. And it's still like in connection with the stuff that's happened with Davin, but it feels like he has more agency in this decision, in this choice, even though it's still as a result of the things that are happening around him.
It makes him feel more mature. It brings out a side of the character that's always been there. One of the first things that took us by surprise in this series was when they fought each other in the ring. And Johnny brought up that their mum was dead. And we thought it was going to be a joke. Like, oh, we thought it was going to be a switch around. We thought he was going to do a jokey guilt. But it was actually a real thing. And he was really pissed off that Davin wasn't there for that. And this is an episode where they're not directly commenting on that, but it makes you think back to that venom and how that hasn't gone away through these episodes.
No, they've been busy dealing with other things. That didn't get resolved. And that Johnny forces Dutch and Davin to have these conversations, but he won't force it in his own relationships.
He kind of has gone in ways to do it, but it always...
He attempts to, but he forces Dutch and Davin to do it because he knows that that's what's best. He pushes them in a way where he wouldn't do that if he was there, right? And he wouldn't do that if he was involved. Because he would back off at some point and go, okay, you've had enough, this isn't working, I'm just gonna...
But also it gets tiring. He has opened up. He has extended the olive branch. He has tried to form a deeper relationship with Davin. But has Davin tried to do that in return throughout the show? No, not as much.
No, he's been busy.
receptive to Johnny's... He's been receptive to Johnny, but how often has he gone out of his way for Johnny the way Johnny is doing for him?
He has gone more out of the way to help Dutch than to reconnect or repair.
And how much of that is to help himself? Because we have had this discussion about his relationship with Potter and how she abuses him for her own needs. But we've also talked about how he has poor judgment as a person. He's a deeply wounded person. He gets on with Dutch now because they have trauma. They have unexplained pasts.
That's how they bonded, yes.
And that's a part of his fascination with her. Yeah, she's sexy. Yeah, she's a decent person, but also that is a driving factor to his desires for her. Is this deep fascination comes from, it's like me, and I can relate it to me, and I get something out of it. You, in our reaction for the last episode, guffawed at after they had sex, he tried to ply her for more information about her past. But what does that tell you about his character? And how much of the stuff that Johnny says, don't do this, and then Davin does it, outweighs the good stuff that Davin has done for Johnny in the season? And by the end of this episode, the answer is, it's not enough.
How about what it cost me? Taking care of Mama, I couldn't go away to school. Taking care of Dad's debts, I can never, ever go home. And then what? You slept with the one person that I asked you not to. And what did that cost me, huh? Our team.
I get it.
Dav.
I wrecked everything in your life. Just tell me how to make it better.
No, I'm done. I am done cleaning up for you.
We've been getting some absolutely wonderful world building over the course of the last couple of episodes that feels very natural. And I've also felt that the series has handled a lot of its world building in a very offhanded way. There was a little bit of heaviness at the start, but I think it was more just a case of we got to get the audience to understand the state of things. But even then, I've never really felt that the world building of the show has been that ham-fisted. Even when we draw a comparison to the first season of The Expanse, where I felt like we were hit over the head so much with its world-building aspects. In fact, it was the thing of the season. We had a hard time with the first season of The Expanse because it was lacking a lot of character work and was so busy.
It was burdened.
The construction of the show you're watching. And I just wanted to talk about how this episode handled these elements, because we have the storm, something that has been said in previous episodes, and now we actually get to see it and we get an explanation. They've just said, "Oh, I'll leave you out in the rain," and you just think, "Okay, that's just a thing that's said."
But
it doesn't mean
it's
much.
a threat.
Yeah, it's a threat. And we also get to see that the company uses the rain for executions.
Public executions. It's just like, okay, everybody's in here safe. We're going to let these people die outside so you can hear their screams.
And how do you feel about the show's handling of the setting of the stage, but also the filling out of details of the place, the environment, the way that the characters interact with it all?
I'm really enjoying it because it's doing the thing that I prefer, which is like it has those globs of world building, but a lot of the time it's thin layers. And it's showing, not telling. And it just keeps on building it up and building it up. And each episode, it feels more solid. And each episode, I'm more interested in what is this threat to the quad.
They've also relied on the format of this being an ongoing story, where they can just drop in random details and not explain them and then leave it for several episodes. There's things in this show, in this episode, that are callbacks to things, but we still don't have a full explanation, like the chanting from the Scarback monks and all of the religious stuff of like praise the trees and all of their rhetoric. We don't have a full understanding of what that means yet, but you do feel like we've
taken a step forward, but it's like, I still don't understand it yet, but I have more information, and that is interesting enough to keep me going.
But also, they've given you answers to things that you didn't think or didn't even know you needed answers to, like the weather, like the rain comment being an actual threat. So you can be satisfied in the knowledge that they'll most likely get to these things, or they'll keep going the way they are and will be drip-fed them in a way that makes sense. And that's the thing about world building. You need it to be interesting, but you need it to also be backgrounded. If that's all you're doing, if that's all you are doing, if that's the front of your show, then it's very hard to engage with it. And science fiction, especially science fiction, but also fantasy, gets lost in that. They forget that, because you can tell when, especially in a genre show, they're so excited about the world. They get lost
in the sauce.
They get lost in the sauce, but Killjoys has managed to keep stirring it and hasn't fallen into it all that much.
Yeah, which is high praise for a first season of a show in general.
And we go over this because it is what the episode is about. Here is a factor to this sci-fi universe that we live in, that there's this rain that comes about. There's this reaction to it. You see inviting people in, and there's all of these figures that would rather
sealing out windows.
People keep walking in, and Pre's like, "Oh, God damn it! I just taped that up." And even how the company, they use it for executions, and how they got their little setups, and how people are just both happy and afraid of when the rain comes. Like, I like that there's multiple reactions. We even get to see that there's tunnels underneath. Like, hey, there are people who've lived underneath, and they do very well during this because they know the ins and outs of the city, because they live under there already, and when the rain comes, they can go to many different places if need be. Like, there's a lot of thought put into it, and it all comes to fruition here because this episode utilizes its world building, utilizes its setting to help narrow down the story elements and hone in on what our characters need to do. So Dutch and Davin from the last episode are not in a good place with one another. So Johnny tricks them into taking a job.
I love the way that he does that, because you think he's just tricked them into meeting up, but no, he set up the whole goddamn warrant.
Yeah, he's tricked them into meeting up. He's tricked them into doing the job, and then the job is actually a test that he's manufactured, and he's even sabotaged Lucy to do this. He's even roped Lucy into it, unbeknownst to her. And with all of that, it makes it so Dutch and Davin are off-world while this event happens. But it doesn't feel contrived because we've earned the lead into it, because the last episode was so monumental, both in how we have understood the characters, but also we feel wounded. We feel traumatized from what happened between Dutch and Davin last episode.
We're waiting for the fallout. We're waiting for the fallout because we assumed that Davin would just be gone at the start of this episode.
Or Dutch. I mean, she was. I mean, they both separated off, doing their way of coping.
But we thought that the trio would officially have been disbanded off screen between episodes.
Wouldn't have been out of place.
No. I say we, where what happens.
Well, you gotta put a caveat. It's been a very long time since I've watched the show, so I can't give you all these minute details. I can give you some of the big hitting details, but even talking about this episode, this is what I'm loving about this being a first-time watch for you. You're commenting on things that are making me think about it as my first time rewatching it, things that I am now appreciating a bit more about the show, that even on our watch that we did together, I may not have, taken in. But they are pushed away and they get their job. I really like it's only a small scene, but I really liked when they got the job.
That was great. Another contender for my yum laugh was Davin's line being like, you're not meant to really take the free shot. It's just a gesture. Because
they go get the job from Baelish, and he is in deep trouble with her because, well, he hurt her girl.
He hurt her girl.
And he does take a free shot. And she does. She hits him in the gut. And he bitches and whines about it. Well, you don't actually you're lucky she didn't do a nut shot, buddy. And then Rachel would have added it to the nut shot.
I would have fucking loved it.
She would have fucking loved it. But I like that little interaction there.
I don't know what you heard, Baelish.
Everything.
And you know I would never hurt Dutch.
But you did hurt her. So let's do this.
Excuse me?
You hurt my girl. I hurt you.
I'm not gonna fight you, Baelish.
One way or another, we're gonna square this.
Okay, fine. One free shot. As hard as you want.
I really like the contrivance of a sci-fi lie detector that looks like a sort of Jenga game. Because it works really well for what they need, and it makes complete sense that Johnny would be able to make this thing in this world. And they're stuck on the ship. It disables it. They initially sort of try and avoid it, all in ways that make a lot of sense for the characters to respond the way that they do. And I appreciate the escalation of Johnny's questions and the way that they feel honest to the character.
But he says them very jovially too.
As well as the purposes of the script. They take it in turns answering these questions, and then, eventually Dutch gets stuck on the question of, does she trust Davin? That's the one that holds up. That's
it's not a binary answer.
Yeah, and it's presented as the last hurdle. But before that, we get a little glimpse into Johnny's shared history with Dutch and Davin, in different ways, and the ways I appreciate that his question to probe Dutch about their past is,
How do they meet?
what did you do when we first met? Which is like an easy thing to say is fact or not, right? But it's still it seems fairly friendly, but it's an uncomfortable truth for her, and an uncomfortable reminder that is where their relationship started. That is the foundation.
But it's a bit of a jovial thing because he is a little scamp.
Yeah,
but then you got to remember
he likes poking the bear, and he's doing that with Dutch in that way.
But it's also
where it makes her smirk, and you're not sure, like that feels like, the motivation of like peeling back that first layer, making them a little bit uncomfortable, and he's delighting in doing that.
And there's a bit of sweet quality to it because by the end of the episode, Johnny, and what you're saying is so good, because although Johnny is, not in the scene technically, he's just a recording, he's still in this conversation. He's still contributing, and we're still learning about him, because what he says is his life ended up this way. He had to turn to crime. He can't go back to these places because of Davin. And he even says during his storyline, like, he understands certain things because I've been in the life. Like, he's been a criminal as well as someone who brings them. And he met Dutch trying to steal her ship. And although that's a positive relationship, none of this would have happened if it wasn't for Davin just up and leaving and forcing him to go down a path. And now here is Johnny forcing these two to go down a path of connection with one another. See, that's the difference. Like, he wants them to get on. He's not thinking purely of himself. He's thinking of himself, though.
Yes, he wants this to work. He wants this to work out. Is it the first question that he asks Davin of, like, what's your greatest fear?
It's one of them. It's the one that matters.
It's an early one anyway, and the fact that like that one is often also used as an icebreaker kind of question.
It was what was the moment that he was happy, and it was like when their dad was gone for a month and it was quiet.
The fear was later.
Yes, and then but that's the most important one. Is like, what's your biggest fear? And then he trips up on that. Like, he gives multiple answers to that. He has a hard time
nailing it down. It's one where, like, I was going to say it's one where he has more trouble being honest with himself than with Dutch, but that's all of these questions. Really, it's about them choosing to be vulnerable and showing a part of themselves, and that neither of them want to show that soft underside and peel back those layers and deal with the mess.
It gets into a good rhythm of getting the audience to think and them to think in that way. Like, that's the problem. Is it's not that I'm necessarily feeling vulnerable about opening up to you, the other character, but it's about doing it for myself. Because the Davin moment where he talks about not wanting to be like his father and becoming a good man and taking down the bad guys and realizing that his fears are like not being good enough, he realized, okay, that's what I need to do. But we get that escalation and the flip around of when Dutch is like forcing them to go even further, and she gets the very funny, moment where she is being thrown into the muck by Davin by being like, okay, he's bad Davin, and he has a projection. Now we're gonna deal with bad Davin, and then she's like, all right, we're gonna deal with bad Davin. And she, like, they just have this back and forth interaction.
Like, well, if I can do this objective test, right? Because she buys into it, she throws the knife, and she's like, okay, now it's your turn.
And I need to know that you are going to have my back no matter what. I need to know that we are good, that we can serve
And that
together, that you
feels
can help me take down Klein.
Like, I was going to say a company line, but a rack
Mm-hmm.
line.
And he's willing to do it, and then
He's willing as she chickens out.
but she can't do it because she doesn't trust him.
Yes.
It goes back to they both open themselves up to their own beings, but to each other. But at the end of the day, the answer was she can't trust him. Not right now. And they get sucked into the storm. All of that stuff happens. I like the red dwarf solution to the problem, which is just fucking kick it and break it. This device that Johnny's put on board, he fucking really shut down Lucy. She couldn't even do anything to stop them from being destroyed. Like, that's some gnarly level shit from Johnny. Johnny.
But
He didn't think about it.
Johnny didn't think about that because it was meant to be just go to the moon and fly back and just stop them in orbit, right?
I mean, heck, even Dutch didn't think that the storm would have come by now. They really weren't prepared.
Nobody
This
was
episode,
prepared.
That's it. The episode is about everyone but Pre is unprepared, because that is a thing. Pre is super prepared. Even though things go sideways at the bar, he is super prepared.
And he's able to deal with it.
Yeah, he's a cool player. He's freshly
Pre
shaven
is
now.
MVP.
Oh, is there a doubt? Pre is top tier character. His bar is a main
Safe
player
house.
in the story. It's main location. It's a safe house.
It's nice to spend solid time there with one of our characters, because we had quite a bit when we were like checking in on Porter with Hills a couple of episodes ago. But it's nice to have Johnny there and see him interacting with people in this sort of hostage situation where it's like, I say kind of because it
escalates.
Yeah, because it isn't just that they are in this situation within the bar. The environment is also holding them hostage.
They're a bunch of criminals who have fucked over the company. There's a company man in there who tries to step up. Shootout happens.
So fucking dumb. I love how fucking dumb the company guy is.
But he doesn't feel like a cartoon.
He buys the company line.
And then
Hook, line, and sinker.
But then we get a twist with him. We get a little twist with him at the end. The company man. We get the twist where he is undermining the company. He gives the stuff over to Alvis at the end. So even that there is a front. Isn't that great?
Now we'll be gone as soon as the rain stops. Until then, I got one rule. Don't be stupid, don't die.
Bad luck pulling a job right before the rain, huh?
You trying to be funny?
No, sir. No.
Because of the plot, the head criminal guy gets shot. Potter needs to save him or else everyone dies. But wouldn't you know it, she's got the shakes. She's got the sweats. She's got the... What has she got, Rachel?
She's got withdrawals because she's a drug addict. Linking back into Jack, which we saw...
Episode 2.
Yeah.
And we've seen it and heard it be mentioned several times. Fun fact, Rachel. You said in a previous discussion that she was an addict.
I thought that I did because we saw her shoot up something, right?
No. Well, I don't know if we saw that, but you were talking about it in terms of her relationship with Davin and how much she is riding the line of being this reckless person and like this devil-may-care character. And I asked you, like, oh, do you think she likes it or do you think it's like a compulsion? And you just said straight up, oh, no, she has the behavior of an addict.
Ah!
And I needed to say that because here we are. And how do you feel?
I didn't remember that at all.
We mentioned this during our reaction that we both agree, like, this is a trope. to a cliche of the brilliant doctor who's addicted to drugs. We even get the backstory of the classic, like when I was studying.
I tried it once.
When I was studying, I needed it to help me stay up, and now I'm addicted. And once you do it once, you're addicted for life because, drugs. But although it's
Sci-Fi drugs in particular, really like that
although it's
idea.
well trodden, we both said like it doesn't really weigh this down. It doesn't ruin this because it's such a familiar thing, because of the way that they're executing it and the way that this character has been portrayed up until now. All lines up and it all makes sense. But Potter's been such a weird character in the show, especially for me, because I'll reveal this now. She was my favorite character in the show.
Oh!
Well,
When
there's some in the later part of the show that's like pretty equal, but like she's my favorite. She was my favorite character in the show. I love the Doctor. I love Doctor characters. I love
You
these.
do. I'm not surprised.
I love
I'm surprised that
Frontier-
you're revealing
I
it.
love Frontier Doctor characters. I love her kind of like, I'm a regal person, but I'm a
you
messy
love
bitch.
Sawbones.
I love Sawbones type. I love that she's like a rich girl who's now having to be thrown out into the wild west of space. Like, I love all of that stuff. But I raised this because on this rewatch, I'm like, why was she my favorite character? She's such a fucking nightmare. This character is so morally fucked. Like the way that she's had sex with Davin and then spun it around on him when he's like, oh, you're breaking up with me, and it's like, did you have a relationship? But this episode is kind of like bringing it back, because this is probably the most we've gotten out of her, and this is also seeing who she really is, what she truly about, what's her secret, but more importantly, who is this person? And the answer is obviously a mess. But I took away a lot from her. But I'm curious to know your feelings about this character and how this episode provides more answers to her, but also gives more on who she is.
I am dubiously accepting this because it feels like a little but I trust them enough at this point to think that they're going to do something more interesting with it. It's not just going to be she was a spoiled brat who fucked up her life because of drugs.
They've already shown us that there's more to it than that as well. I like that her family has supplied her with pure Jack. Like, they've kicked her out, but they've got to keep her on it, or else she's gone. She's on the pure stuff, but because she's so regularly on the drugs, she comes across as normal, right? Like she's reached this state of like functional is what
I only use pure.
She only uses the pure stuff. I've got to use dirty stuff, but she's functioning. Yes, but we see the dysfunction still rise up within her. Oh, just because she's reached a working level of her drug abuse doesn't mean that these things that
She's
this
a functional drug addict.
yeah, but that doesn't mean
But that doesn't make it good.
No, we see that she's reckless in other aspects of her life, and that she's always on the edge of throwing her life and career away.
I just want to say before we potentially move on, I really appreciate the way that the reveal works in this episode. It's not oh my god, clutch my pearls.
Johnny's not dumb, we're not dumb.
No, it cuts to the chase, but we get a few things building up to it first. We get her like not looking quite right and her being like, oh, it's just a storm, headache, whatever.
Heat wave, yeah.
Excuses, but you don't buy it. It feels a little bit off. And then that moment with Pre really shifts it to being like, oh no, there's something going on.
Pre knows everyone and everything, basically. I need to comment. He's clean shaven now.
At least for this episode, he's completely clean. He's not even really wearing any makeup.
But he's also not wearing sleeves, so he's really showing it off. I want to know about your thoughts on another character who is a major player in this plot and episode. Someone we haven't really gotten to spend time with, but we get plenty of it here. The Scarback monk Alvis.
Alvis is back. And I want to dive straight into... Oh, actually, no. Before we get into the heart of what's going on with Alvis, I want to dive more headfirst into how he reads Johnny. And his just flat assessment of Johnny is so good. It's like, yeah, give him some of his own medicine.
It rattles him.
It rattles him to the core, and his interactions with Alvis in the sort of sewer basement system, subway system.
In the city of the rats.
Yes. That conversation is why he's tipped over into confronting Johnny. Like, yeah, like he's had a bad fucking day and he's had a bad couple of weeks. But it's Alvis's language that he jumps on and almost gives him the understanding that he needs.
He gives him that push to stop being the guy who fixes things all of the time. He notices. Oh, I noticed that.
And it's just like, oh, what?
And
why
and
is
Johnny
that
doesn't.
on you? And he's like, he's defensive.
Yeah, Johnny's also judgmental. Alvis asks, "What's the problem between us? Is it because of my religion? Is that what the deal is? Like, why do we have friction between us? I'm here to help you." And Johnny dismisses the whole religious stuff. That's not the problem. My problem is you use that religion as a shield. You pretend you're actually doing all of this rebellion political stuff. I object to you doing that. And Alvis just nails it. He says people can believe in more than one thing. By the way, I can be both. I can be a devout religious person, but also I can be someone who wants to strike up a rebellion to change the status quo. And although he doesn't really get into it in this episode, is that also something that is out of pocket for religious figures? There is some validity to some of this stuff that Johnny says, because at the end of the episode, we learn that Alvis was there and did a lot of this stuff and used a lot of his religiosity to curry favor and gain information to help further his political cause. That's what we get with his conversation at the end, posing as like,
But
oh,
that's
uncle, come over and give me the
also-
blessing. And
Also, what he does in the sort of undercity, because he's there and he is connected to this guy politically, but also religiously, and it's the fact that he's both that enables them to get the jack.
What do you feel about Alvis in terms of that, and also the religious, spiritual angle of the series? We haven't really had much of it, but it does come back here.
And it is another aspect to the world building of the quad that Alvis is this figure, God.
They did refer to him as God in the first episode, and his uncle as well, and he literally gives them his blood. It's a very striking image. cuts himself.
Yeah, like, and that's how he like gives this blessing of the blood on the eyelids, and I really appreciated the depth of meaning that you can get out of it when he's just like, "Oh, the other monks will be jealous because I have rain scars."
Yes, I have rain scars. Yeah, he has this. He has this.
It's a ridiculous statement and so sci-fi that I just.
Oh yeah,
it just tickles my fancy.
he has this belief that there are martyrs and masochists in Westerly. Which one are you? And which one is he though? Because he plays up the masochist angle. I mean, that's literally like his whole thing, right? Like they cut themselves. He's willing to do all of this. He's willing to run out in the rain. But by being such a masochist and someone who's willing to throw himself in there and endanger himself, he's martyring himself as well. Like he is leaning into the prestige and the trust and the cult-like nature of being a religious leader to get what he wants. It's both. I don't know. There's something about that sequence under in the tunnels where all of these homeless people and drug addicts and all of that are basically worshipping at his feet, and he's giving them the blessing. That is sinister, but also there is a calming beauty to it. Yeah. Like, how do you read that moment? Like, is that like, because I do feel like conflicted about it. There's just a part of me that's like, oh, since it's so foreign to what I know and what I'm familiar with and what I'm accustomed to, and it's also gross, like cutting himself and blood.
Yeah. Like if you got the blood of the priest instead of the blood of Christ when you do communion, you'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with this priest? That's not what you're meant to do.
But blood packs are fine. Like these are the things, right?
Yeah.
It's just another.
Yeah, like it's like we say, yeah, that's a whole
Other
thing. I enjoy it because it feels like something that could develop in a world. It doesn't feel like, oh, this is a sci-fi bullshittery thing. It's just like, oh no, a religion where like the blessing involves blood, like I said, primal, but like it is primal in the way that it grounds it.
Give people false hope.
You don't respect faith.
Oh, I'd respect you if you actually believed what you were selling. But you use religion to play politics.
You can believe in more than one thing at once. I believe in a free Westerly.
Well, good luck with that. You might as well believe in monsters and level 6 Killjoys. The company owns Westerly, Elvis, and they are not letting go.
Neither are we.
Something I want to end on here is Elvis perhaps is the only character in the show that is trying to fix and work upon something better and outside of himself. He keeps talking to our Killjoys about one day you will have to realize that you can't just stand by the sidelines, that you will have to stand up. You'll have to pick a side and you'll know who you are. But pretty much everyone in this show is looking out for themselves. No one in this show, really outside of him, is trying to fix the world around them, trying to make things better. They're just looking after themselves, and perhaps that will help improve the world in little ways, but he wants to do the big ways. In so many of the shows that we do, that isn't the case. It's usually like, oh, the main character, like your Jimmy Holden and the Rocinante, are wanting to look after themselves. But, Christian Avasalaris, she wants to fucking fix everything. And like all of these people, or Babylon 5, where it's like a station of, diplomats. Obviously, they want to do all of these big things, and all of your Star Treks. This is the first show in which Like 99% of the cast of characters we follow are self-interested people. Not to say selfish, but
No,
self-interested.
yes. That is an important distinction to make, because there is such importance placed on us versus them mentalities in Killjoys, because it's tribal. Like, that's a huge part of this society, because, and they keep on mentioning how to be in the rack, you give up those elements. You belong to the rack. You are a killjoy. You don't have a fucking out. So, like, those aspects being woven in all of these different ways, as like, and returning to how Alvis interacts with the us versus them, and categorization of people, and the way the world works to him.
But what Killjoys has done is it really has leaned into this real world sense of, we live in an oppressed society and there's nothing we can do about it. And they've gone beyond the point of even being angry about it. They're complacent about it. They're just, this is the way it is about it. And so Alvis is this outlier, and even someone as wholesome and as sweet and as kind as Johnny recoils and is disgusted by someone who is opposed to being complacent. On our rating system of Yum being bad and Yum Yum being good, where does Come the Rain fall?
Yum yum.
Yum yum.
It is not a perfect episode. Don't get me wrong. But it is a really solid episode, and one that I was really afraid was going to be bad, because last episode did so much. I was like, what are they going to do to follow up?
We've been on a streak. We've been on a streak of good episodes. A glitch in the system was like a real kickoff point, and then one after the other, it's just been improving. I give this episode a yum yum.
Yum yum.
I've enjoyed it even more after our discussion, and the final scene of the episode really, really works, of Johnny and Dutch laying in his bed and he reads the comic to her. And that too is showing that there's still hope between Johnny and Davin. Although Davin is no longer a part of the crew, or they've, said we need a bit of time, Johnny has still taken that gesture, that token.
Yes.
He's from his brother. And
he's not rejecting him entirely.
The name of the next episode is very important.
I saw it.
It is called Enemy Klein.
Yeah.
And this starts off.
It got me excited.
This starts off something I mentioned earlier in the podcast, which is fun titles to episodes. I said that this show, I remember that the titles get very playful, maybe lots of pop song title names, but also lots of punny names. And I was like, when does that start? And I mentioned, I looked through and I pinpointed, oh, that's the episode, Enemy Klein, like Enemy Mine.
Great. I am looking forward to that. And if you, Yumling, that's what we call audience people sometimes.
That's what we call you.
That's what you are.
Yum yum.
Wanting to keep up to date on when that episode's coming out, you can follow us on your podcatcher of choice. Give us a review, because if you care enough to do that, then you probably like the show. So let us know. If you want to reach out, see what we're doing on social media, Ryan does a great job making lots of fun content on different platforms. You can find us on those under Yum Yum or yumyumpod or Yum Yum Podcast.
If you just yell yum yum, the wind will eventually carry it and we'll feel it and hear it in our souls.
But if you want more direct, then you can send us an email at yumyumpod@gmail.com. But, Ryan, what is really the best option? Best option for people to do?
Well, you should all support us on Patreon. We upload our content there early, as well as bonus material. We cover so much stuff, and we have covered so much stuff. Also, subscribe to the YouTube. We are uploading our edited reactions onto the YouTube, and it would be very much appreciated if you shared the show around. Tell people about Yum Yum Podcast. If you know people who have seen Killjoys before or are wanting to start it up and would perhaps like a podcast
companion,
then make sure to tell them that we are here doing it on Yum Yum Joy's Yum Yum Podcast. Next episode, Enemy Klein, which makes me think of the film Enemy Mine. And my prediction, I do not remember this episode just from the title. Like, I know what happens in the last episode because this will be the penultimate episode, but I remember the last episode of the season, obviously. But I'm predicting that, like in Enemy Mine, Klein
will adopt a baby.
I was going to say, have a baby. He will be pregnant and give birth to a baby.
Oh.
Ugly.
Ugly.
Ugly head.
Ugly head.
Yeah, just call it off. And have my tits handed to me by my boss? I don't think so.